Hello everybody, so I just built this computer. Right here is it has an Asus Prime Z390P motherboard, i5-9400F. I'm using that graphics card right now because the actual graphics card I'm gonna install hasn't came in yet. So I'm just using that for now. Got power supply, everything's working as you can see. I don't know what the CPU fan error is, but I'm gonna show you guys how you can get Windows 7 installed on a machine like this. Now there's two things I'm gonna tell you. The first thing is that if you're gonna try and install Windows 7 on modern machines, and I mean like Z390 or after, you're gonna want to use either MSI or Asus motherboard. And the reason why is because other motherboard brands like Gigabyte usually have this weird ACPI that isn't compatible with Windows 7 without like a special driver. So once you can find that, you can use that. But Asus motherboards are fine. So I'm gonna go ahead. There's a few things you have to change in the BIOS. So just simply go to F1 for the Asus BIOS, and I'm gonna show you guys what you need to change. So first thing, you want to make sure that you have this right here turned off, because if you have to have that on, it's gonna give an error unless you have the driver. Then you want to go to advanced mode. You want to go to boot, and first thing you want to do, make sure that this doesn't really matter. You want to go to CSM. You want to make sure they have launch CSM enabled, and make sure you have all of this on legacy. And then there's one more thing you need to do. You need to go to advanced again. You need to go to USB configuration. You need to make sure that you have XHI handoff enabled. Make sure that you have legacy USB enabled. And then that's pretty much all you have to do. Now what you want to do, go back to there. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be installing Windows 7 off of a DVD. Hold on. I'm going to be installing Windows 7 with an official copy from Microsoft. And actually, one more thing I forgot to mention is you want to use a PS2 mouse, because even with the legacy and the XHEI or whatever, Windows 7 will likely not work in the installer without a PS2 mouse. So that's why I'm using a PS2 mouse. That's why I have one here. They're pretty cheap. If your motherboard doesn't have PS2 ports, you are getting a PCI Express slot to PS2 online. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put in the DVD real quick. Alright, so like I said, guys, I'm gonna be installing it through a DVD. I'm gonna go ahead and click onto this right here. Real quick. I'm going to do off of the DVD. So as you guys can see, now we have access to the mouse, and I'm using a PS2 mouse again, because this is what happens when I use a USB. Even the USB mouse works, but when I use a USB mouse, the mouse just goes crazy, and I have no idea why. So I'm just going to use the PS2 mouse, because the PS2 mouse works just fine. So you just want to go to install now, and you're going to install it pretty much as you normally would on a normal computer. And by the way, I'm using a SATA SSD. So if you're using like an NVMe SSD, what's going to happen, you might get an issue with the driver. But as you can see, for me, when I go right here, yeah, as you can see, I do not get any issue. So I'm just going to click next, and I'm going to install it as normally. And this part's probably going to take like a good 25 minutes. So I'm just going to cut to the part where it's done, and I'll see you guys there. Everybody, I'm back, and we are at the final stage. So funny story is that you cannot press any USB devices, because what will happen is you will get locked out of the PS2 mouse. So you cannot touch these USB mouses. In fact, I unplugged this mouse because I didn't want to accidentally press it. So we're going to use the on-screen keyboard like this, and we're going to navigate through Windows just like that. So let's go ahead and turn that off. So right here, I'm just gonna be really fast, because I can always edit the stuff after I install Windows. Just click next, use recommended settings, and then I'm gonna put my time zone. And like I said, I'm using a PS2 mouse right now, because if I press any USB devices, what's gonna happen is that it's gonna lock out for some reason, and I don't know why Windows does that. So if I literally press a single key on this keyboard, it's not gonna work. So as you guys can see, I'm now in Windows, and if I go to properties, boom, this is a Intel Core i5-9400F, and yeah, everything is working now. I'm gonna go ahead and put a quick screen resolution, And I might be wondering, okay, well now we need to install drivers, because yeah, you need to get your drivers installed too. So I'm just maybe wondering, well, if you don't have access to USB or to any of that, how are you gonna get drivers working? So yeah, there's a bunch of drivers you gotta install, and don't worry, I'm gonna show you guys what to do. So maybe wondering how you're gonna get drivers integrated if you don't even have access to the internet, or you can't even put it on a flash drive and stuff, like it won't work. And what I did is I have this SSD right here, which is from my old computer. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna plug this SSD into the computer, and I have drivers on there. So you can also put it onto a DVD if you want. That is another thing you can do. I'm actually gonna eject this DVD because I no longer need it. But yeah. Okay guys, so what I've done is I've taken the SSD from my old computer right here. This is the SSD from, this is the new SSD, the old SSD. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get the drivers from there. So actually, all that in the bottom right. My SSD is right here. I'm gonna go to users, and this is from my old computer. It's gonna ask you for permission, by the way, just to continue. I've already plugged this in and I forgot to put the driver on there, so I have to go back and install it. Go to my desktop, needed, and then I have the Wi-Fi driver I need right here. So I'm using a MSI AC905C. Let's focus. Come on. Just got later. So the MSI, oh my god, stop fucking doing that. Okay, look, the MSI AC905C, which is that Wi-Fi card right there, it's natively supported by Windows 7. There's a driver for it, so I'm just gonna install that driver real quick. Okay guys, I just installed the Wi-Fi driver for my system, and I'm gonna go ahead and connect to the Wi-Fi. Putting the Wi-Fi password in using the on-screen keyboard is gonna be a bit fun, so just bear with me. And I'll show you guys the other drivers you need before I end this video. Everybody, so as you can see, I'm finally back. It is literally 12 a.m. when I'm doing this right now, and so yeah, there's a few questions you guys might have. Number one, how in the world did I get the Ethernet driver? So as you guys can see, I have Ethernet right there, plugged in from there. It's my mom's work machine, but I actually went on the Asus website, and let me put the on-screen keyword real quick. I have to install the USB drivers, and I'll show you guys how to do that in a second. But if you look up Asus Z390, there are Windows 7 drivers. There are official Windows 7 drivers for the Z390 motherboard that you can use to install for the Z390. So I literally just went right here. I went to oh, go to support, and then come on, it's loading. And then let me just update, including the ESU update. So that took a really long time, and you can just download this LAN driver. And then I'm also going to be using the Z370 chipset driver. So I have a bunch of drivers right here that I'm just going to extract real quick, and there's a bunch of drivers that I have to install. So the first one is, of course, the chipset drivers. So I'm going to be using the Z370 chipset drivers, and I'm going to leave this in the description as well, so if you need to use it, don't worry, you can use it. So yeah, it is pretty simple. So yeah, because the Z370 and the Z390 chipset are pretty similar. But as you can see, it already works. And then the next thing to install is the USB drivers. So these are modified USB drivers, and all I have to do is just simply install them and click install, and then it should work, hopefully. And then another thing is that just install all of them. These drivers were apparently they're modified drivers of the Intel USB drivers. I found these on a foreign website. So pretty much people who were trying to install Windows 7 on Z390, they just took the official USB driver from Intel, modified it so it could work with the Z390 chipset. And yeah, as you can see, it is now done. So just let it install and restart after it's done installing. So alright guys, so I've just restarted the computer, and I'm going to show you guys what you need to do next. So of course you want to go into the BIOS, press F1, and then we can disable The legacy, we no longer need that, or sorry, that's the wrong thing. Go to advanced mode. Go ahead, go to advanced, and you can go to USB configuration. You can go ahead and disable this, both of these, and then actually I'm gonna leave this on auto just in case, because I don't know if I really do need it, but you can disable that. So give it like that, and you can click save and exit. And then yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get into Windows 7. Alright, so as you guys can see, I am now using a USB keyboard and it is working. This keyboard right here is USB. They're plugged in right there into this USB port right here. So I no longer need to use the PS2 mouse because now the keyboard is working. You can see even all of this stuff is being recognized, which is really nice, because none of that was there. But I didn't even install the Bluetooth driver. That thing just came out of nowhere. So I can pretty much use the keyboard now, which is amazing. I have access to the mouse. I'm gonna go to device manager real quick and see what's going on over here. So there are a few unknown drivers. I don't know what these drivers are. But we have the USB. We have all of these. I have the chipset driver installed as well. So you can see it is a 5th/6th gen, which is interesting, but it is honestly working. Everything's working. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and plug in my USB speaker real quick, and I'm gonna see if I get sound from it. Hello everybody, it is me from 2 days later, and I'm here to show you guys that my USB speaker is working. Go right here, go to sound, boom, it's all coming from that speaker right there. And again, it's all USB, so it's all working. I have a GTX 970 installed finally, and I'm actually going to show you guys how to get the NVIDIA driver real quick, because some of you guys actually might need that. So you simply want to go to geforce.com and go to drivers, go to manual search obviously, and this is what I have, a 970. Now obviously you're going to choose your graphics card. So if you have a RTX 3090 Ti, you would pick the RTX 30 series. If you have a GTX 1660 Ti, you'd pick the 16 series. But after that, you just simply want to go to game ready driver, choose your language, and then once that loads, you're going to actually want to download not the latest driver, because Microsoft does not sign these drivers anymore. I tried using drivers from 2024. They do not work. You actually have to go down to this driver right here. This is the last driver that will work, the one released on December 20, 2022, because after January 10, 2023, when support ended for Windows 7 officially, like the ESC support ended, NVIDIA or Microsoft stopped sending the drivers for Windows 7. So that will not work anymore. But that is pretty much all I have to say. So just use that version instead, and everything's working. As you can see, I have Arrow working just fine, and if I go to NVIDIA control panel, everything is working perfectly. I even have all the refresh rates and everything. So